Okay, guys, welcome back to another episode of the DM show. Yes, you're hearing my voice again instead of Melena's. We all know she's a captain of the ship, like I said before in episode 9. That was our episode with Donald. But this is the reason why you hear my voice again. We have the amazing mom, Sarah, with us to give her side and her perspective and everything and her story. And I'm about to jump out of my chair. I'm so excited. Like, I cannot stand it. I'm so excited to hear this. Hey, Sarah, I can't wait to hear your perspective. But yes, we have Sarah here to join us and give us a little bit of a follow-up, which is exciting. So you've never had a follow-up episode before. So Melena, do you want to add? Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, I think it's going to be so awesome because we have a lot of adoptive parents that follow both of us. And so
yes.
One of their biggest fears is exactly what you've gone through, Sarah. So I'm excited for you to express your feelings and tell all those things. And even though it was not probably the outcome that you wanted, there's still kind of a, I don't know, like a happy outcome,
silver?
I guess you could
Yeah,
kind
like
of say,
silver
you know what I
lining.
mean? So I'm excited for you to share that side with us. So, okay. I'm done.
Yeah. As I say, feel free, get started. Go.
Did y'all want to kind of hear mostly about that or kind of our experience overall?
Do everything. We want to hear everything.
Everything. All of it.
Okay. Well, I made notes, so hopefully I don't completely go all over the place. My initial experience with adoption was working actually in foster care and foster parents adopting children that they'd had in their home, or participating in the meetings to choose an adoptive family for them. So I never would have dreamed at that time that I would end up adopting in my life. But because of that experience, for me, it was really important to start from the beginning and have a child from birth. I think it's amazing that there are people out there that will foster and adopt, or, will adopt older kids. But that just wasn't for me. So we went the route that's called domestic, which a lot of people like. I didn't even really know that term until we started the process. I just always thought it was considered, private. But anyway, potato.
Is that like, are you referring to like all of adoption, like domestic versus like international? Is that what you meant?
Oh, no, when people think of like a private adoption, that's more of just like if you know someone and arrange it yourselves through a lawyer.
Okay.
Oh,
and
yeah. Okay.
Is like more of an agency arrangement, and then like you said, it's international.
Cool. Okay, perfect. Sorry, go ahead.
You'll crack me up with the giggles. So we had some friends that adopted before we did. So that was where I got a little glimpse of that other side of it, with the domestic. And they had a couple different experiences. And, it's funny. People will give you great advice and, you just won't listen to it. You just true. Really got to go through things yourself. One of the things they said was, count on having a couple of matches fall through before something works out.
Okay.
And also, when you get your first match, don't get too excited and don't tell the whole world. And it's, you just gotta.
I think that would be hard. I'm not gonna lie. I think that would be hard because you get so excited, and of course you want to tell everybody. Like
I was about to say, how could you not want to tell everybody? That would be, especially now with social media.
Oh,
sorry.
Exactly.
Anyway, sorry.
Sorry. Continue. Sorry. We do this sometimes.
That's why it's a conversation.
Exactly.
So that's basically what happened with us in the beginning. We, in October of 2015 is when we started our process. We went to an orientation. I had done research online for local adoption agencies, and they work different ways. Some of them will support the birth moms with services, but then any like monetary support they leave up to the adoptive family. And that sounded very uncomfortable to me.
Can I ask a question on that? Just because I don't know if you know, but this is where I'm very intrigued and I want to pick your brain on it. So are they, I hate even saying this with like charges with adopting a child, but places,
I mean, there's no other way to put it though.
I know it just sounds like come buy me, even though it's not really, but you know what I mean. But like,
I know exactly what you mean.
But like, do they charge more when they're covering services for the birth mom versus if they don't cover services for the birth mom? Do you know that?
That's a
really good question.
Because either way, I think it's bullshit. And yes, oh, sorry. I swear, I probably should have told you that, Sarah. Like, I think it's,
I think totally it's forgot to warn her about that.
Delancey doesn't, but I do. Because I think that's totally unfair if it's like, well, we're going to drop your price 10 grand if we don't have to do services for the birth mom. And I've learned in a lot of the cases, there's really good birth moms out there that like, they need all the help they can get too when they're placing a child, So, okay, sorry. Anyway, I didn't know if you knew.
I actually don't know the answers to that. We ended up going through a private agency that charges an arm and a leg versus, like a Catholic Charities or something like that. Part of the reason for that, though, was it felt more comfortable to say, we're going to spend money on this one way or another. Let's take that piece out and just let the agency support the birth mom and maybe make it less awkward of trying to, like you said, buy a child is kind of what it feels like no matter how you approach it. But, rather than trying to like negotiate directly with the birth mom, and then that feels kind of icky, like less like you're being supportive and more like we're buying a child.
I was about to say more like a transaction.
Yeah. That's good. I've never heard that before. I do like that you brought that up because I never would have thought of that. That makes total sense on your end of the spectrum. Yeah, for sure. Holy cow.
Yeah. And then also, it's not a guarantee because birth moms have rights and they can change their mind with up to 48, well, at least in the state of Texas, up to 48 hours after the child is born. So, it just, again, felt more comfortable to let the agency support them, and then whatever happens. Right. And of course, this agency has, their policy is that, if it falls through, then, we'll keep going until you get matched and it won't cost a bunch of extra. So that felt like kind of a safe approach, I guess.
So if it falls through, then they still charge you more for your
that's when my question
transaction?
Was.
No, their policy is that if it doesn't work out, they will keep working with you until you get a match that does.
Okay, so they won't charge you
without.
Okay, so they don't. That's what I was wondering too. I was about to say, so they charge you for the next one too. I have a follow-up question on the up to 48 hours. Is it after the 48 hours it's done, or is there like another waiting period after that? Because I know with my adoption, I want to say it was 90 days before it was completely finalized.
You're right. There's in the state of Texas, it's 6 months.
Okay.
Which felt like forever and a day.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's how I was too. I was 6 months and my parents had to wait exactly to finalize it.
So the 48 hours is just for the birth mom to make sure she for sure wants to do it after the baby's here, and then she can relinquish her rights. And then there's a time period where due diligence has to be done for the birth father. And once you pass that hurdle, then you've got the finalization at the end of the 6 months.
Okay.
Crazy.
So
Okay.
it's a lot of hoops. It's a lot of hoops.
That is a lot of hoops. That's a lot more hoops than I was expecting
right
to hear.
Ooh.
That's just
So,
a lot.
yeah. So it took us from 2015 when we did the orientation with that agency until 2021 to have a successful adoption.
Wow, it took that long. That's a long
Yeah.
time.
That's a long
So-
time.
And that was a successful adoption. Had you had how kind of like you mentioned before, you had previous ones come forward to where you were hopeful, but it fell through. Is that what you mean by that?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
That's a lot.
It is.
It's an emotional roller coaster. That would be the main thing, that if people aren't expecting that going into it as an adoptive parent, I would say that's the main thing to be aware of, is just you better buckle your seatbelt, baby, because
You're in for a wild ride.
You in for it.
We got the orientation. We liked what we heard, and they had a couple of social workers run it, and there were several other couples there participating. And one of the social workers in particular, she was just so upbeat and so made it sound everything sounds so great when you get that match that works out and everything. And so we went ahead and signed up with them and got our home study done, was the next step. So I mean, even once you sign up, it's not just an application and you're ready to rock and roll. It's a ton of paperwork. So of course they want to check you out and check your home out and do background checks and, a big questionnaire, some very intrusive questions. One of them was the one that really sticks with me that was intrusive, was about our sex life. And I looked at my husband and I said, okay, this is awkward. How do we want to answer this?
Can I ask what the question was?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious now.
I should have looked it up. I believe it was like, how do you handle it when he wants to have sex and you don't?
What?
Right? I was like, what does this have to do with adopting a child? But I suppose it
Anybody's
goes to
business. Oh my God.
Right.
Oh my.
And I suppose it has to do with just feeling out your relationship and how you work together and compromise and stuff. But yeah, that
Interesting.
There are so many other ways to find out a couple's problem solving skills without that question.
Right.
Like, put them in an escape room and watch them. I feel like that's a little more effective.
But I'm sorry, like, okay, I know I'm gonna take us off track here a little bit. I know a good, happy, healthy sex life is what you need in a marriage. I understand that, but that's not what makes a freaking marriage. Like, I'm sorry, but it doesn't. Well,
it's not an adoption agency's business about that. That is a very personal thing between a husband and a wife. That is an incredibly personal thing. That's between them and God, nobody else.
I don't even know.
I am so that makes me uncomfortable. And I wasn't
Why
even
didn't they
there
switch
for
it
that.
around? Was it only about the man? What if the woman wasn't in the mood? What if the woman wanted it and
that
the man didn't want to put out? Like,
you know what? I didn't even think about that.
Why does it only have to be okay? Sorry. Anyway, go ahead, Sarah. Keep going.
No, I had to share that because it is totally trippy. And, it's just even, not all of the questionnaires are going to have all the same questions, but, just an example of, it just feels, of course they have to vet you, but it feels so intrusive to have all
so
these
crazy.
questions and all these, different checks that they do. And so, be prepared for that. So we got that done, and then we got matched pretty quickly. It was spring or summer of 2016. And, we went with the social workers and met the birth mom for lunch. And I mean, she was pretty easygoing. She seemed to like us. She was like, yeah, let's do this. And it was pretty astounding. So of course, did I remember our friend's advice? Like, be cool and don't tell the whole world? No.
Well, for me,
Which
I
is
get that.
human nature.
I feel like it's, yeah. And it's like, for me, I feel like it's like a pregnancy. Like, I
Yeah.
remember I wasn't one that really waited, and then we did miscarry. But for me, I feel like it was so good to have a support system around me. That's just me. I think
Mhm.
people tell you not to tell people that because people don't like to hear the bad news. But to be honest, with, I guess, it's with the type of human I am. If I was going through adoption and I kept having fall through, I would want some
Mhm.
people there to support me. But that's
Oh,
just
sure.
me.
I
I
would
know
need my
everybody's different.
village.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
Absolutely. And she just meant, just don't announce it on Facebook kind of
Yeah.
a thing. Obviously you wouldn't, you're going to tell family or your really close friends.
Right.
But, we were super excited. And then she sent us a sonogram picture. So we sent that out, and that one didn't work out. I don't want to be all horror story and super negative. So I'm going to try not to do that throughout this. But
No,
in
you're
this
good. You're good.
No,
Yeah.
no, you're
particular
good. Share
case-
it.
in this particular case, it sounds like what happened was that she lost the baby and didn't want to let people know. I think she just kind of needed the support. The agency was helping her with some rent and groceries and things like that. So it was basically a fake sonogram. I mean, it was somebody else's. She just, who knows where she got it from. So
Oh, wow.
Even ask somebody for their son. Like, do you just go into their house and take it off their fridge, or you just ask your friend, like, hey, do you have a sonogram I can have to submit? Like, how do you?
she probably got it online.
As it say, the internet, Delancey, nowadays, and it wasn't that long ago. She probably just printed one and took it in. That's probably something that they need to know.
But
I
doesn't
swear. No, everybody
doesn't
can
it have
cock
to
up
be
whatever they
official or
want.
It
something?
No,
didn't have
you can't.
identifying
Okay.
information,
Yeah.
which I thought seemed a little odd. But then my
Yeah.
next thought was, well, they try to keep a certain amount of privacy if you want that, so like
Mhm.
they would introduce us by our first names, no last name, and we didn't know all of birth mom's information, so I thought, okay, well, so they just like took that private information off, or she just didn't want her name on there or whatever. But it did seem a little odd. So then it wasn't a complete huge surprise that it was
Right.
that
Yeah.
it was fake.
But that still just floors me that somebody would do that. I mean, that's going to extensive lengths to.
It is.
Like, that's a lot.
It is.
Deceptive.
I think you'd be surprised at not just with this, but things people will do to go to forge crap. And I say that with like experience of knowing people doing it. So that's why, like, I know you're super shocked, but I think it's a lot easier than you think it is, especially with the tools we have nowadays, which is really sad. Because that is messing with somebody and her, like,
exactly. Like, you're messing with their lives. You're messing with their joy, their happiness, which, I mean, whatever your motivation is behind it, whatever. But like, I'm just shocked that people can morally do that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
Oh, me too.
I'm so sorry. Keep going.
No,
I'm so
don't be
sorry.
sorry. You're good.
It's all good. I know it's shocking. But I mean, I think that's part of the reason y'all wanted to
Yes.
do this.
Yes,
Exactly.
it is. Yes. I don't even like know it.
So then from after that through most of 2019, there were some various different funky things that came up. One of them, they had a 2-year-old, and we vacillated about that a little bit. My husband was more interested than I was, because like I said, I really felt strongly about having a baby and bonding from the beginning. So we passed on that. And then there was kind of a bizarre one where a lady broke up with her boyfriend and felt like she couldn't care for the child. And we actually, met with her and the social workers for coffee. And, I felt for her, because I think it was kind of a desperate thought. And then it wasn't but a couple weeks later that she changed her mind. And I think maybe she ended up back with the boyfriend.
Okay.
But it's those kind of things that make it really hard, because of course you get excited every time there's a possibility. And then there was one where we were supposed to meet the birth mom, and then it just kind of kept getting delayed and kept getting delayed. And, we started to think, well, this probably isn't going to pan out. But at the same time, you're like, well, is it or isn't it? Let us know. And it got to be like the week that she was due. And I'm like, what's going on? Just, social workers, just tell us, is she still thinking about this or not? Do we need to mentally move on or what, And it was, it was like so back and forth. And so again, these decisions are hard. I really can't blame anybody when it's not an easy decision. Sometimes you have family pressures in it too. And that's what happened with this one. The birth mom's mother didn't want her to give up the child, but she was a single mom and this was her 4th child. And she's like, I can't do this. I can't work and take care of 4 kids, one of them being a newborn.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay, so we're still in the running. Okay. Well, then it was, no, she's going to keep the baby. And after the baby was born, and then it was, no, she's had the baby home for a week. It's just like she thought, she just can't do this. And so we're like, okay, that's fine. I get it. She felt like she had to try. Then they called us back, and the grandma had come and taken the baby and given it to another family member because she didn't want the child to be adopted. Which again, I get it, but
I have questions.
It's like, hello,
but the baby could go to another person, but as long as it was family, it was okay.
Like, that doesn't make sense to me, because that still means the baby was adopted.
At least, I think the grandma felt like at least the baby was with birth family.
Kinship care. Oh. Remember we learned about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we learned about that from Raquel. Kinship care, where people take on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, sorry, go on.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I'm not sure if they officially adopted or not, but I get it. So then it was August of 2019 when the little Luke came along. We had been preparing since I think it was May of 2019. We met his birth mom a couple of times for lunch. She seemed really amazing. She, I was always more willing to consider some level of openness in the adoption than my husband. He was more like, that kind of sounds uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I can understand that.
Yeah, agreed.
And so for me, it was more like, it's going to depend on the birth mom. Well, Luke's birth mom was somebody that, you know, we both, before things completely unraveled, we were both like, you know, well, she has a steady job. You know, she's taking care of 2 other kids. She, you know, doesn't look like she's on drugs. You know, she seems to, you know, be somebody that it would be safe for the baby to see, you know. Um, and then everything happened. You heard Donald's story.
Yeah.
Um, it's, you know, even when we got to that point where we heard there was a potential birth father, you feel protective of the child.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. 'Cause you don't know anything about
Right.
that. So I get that. I understand that.
And, you know, it's not that I'm not sure about my husband, but I for sure didn't take birth mom's story about Donald at face value. You know, first
Oh,
of all,
Really?
mm-mm. First of all, I was a social worker myself.
okay.
There's
Okay.
2
All right.
sides to every story.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't, I'm sure it was very difficult for her, whatever reason she decided to do what she did. But, and you know, she did not handle it the right way, even if she felt like that he wouldn't be a good dad or whatever. But, you know, I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm just such a more of a black and white kind of rule follower type of person. It just, frankly, it annoyed the crap out of me that she handled it the way she did.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I completely agree. Is it all right for me and well us, but out of my voice to ask to ask the because I'm pretty sure Melena's wondering the same thing. What what was your perception of what she told you? Because I don't want to say like what exactly, like, because I mean nobody remembers exact words. What was your perception and your understanding of her story of Donald?
Well, that we didn't find out about that until the paternity registry. So first of all, it was when we were matched, it was a one night stand. She had no idea who the father was.
Oh, so she just flat out lied. I'm
Oh,
sorry. Wow,
totally.
that was mean.
Well, it's hard to sugarcoat it.
It's
And
not
that's
mean
exactly
because
what it was.
it's truth. I mean, it's really,
Yeah, I
I
just
mean,
didn't. I mean, I did not expect that to pop out of my mouth the way that I did. Like, you know, it's
it does, it does make me sad though that like, I mean, it feels like
that's
to me, Sarah, that like you guys have come, and it's not just this birth mom, but like birth mom after birth mom,
like
just making up all
right.
this. And
This
that's the thing that makes
stuff.
me sad is then because then birth moms get a bad rap. But I know so many amazing birth moms, you know, and that's the sad thing is it takes like 1 or 2 instances like this, and then people are like, oh
Mhm.
my gosh. And it's like, they're not all like that, I promise. Like,
I
Yeah,
promise
and
they're
that's
not.
good. I'm glad you know some that aren't, because that's, you know, honestly, our friends who adopted, they're they have 2 girls. The oldest one, they had a fantastic experience with her birth mom. So little digression here, but um, they live in Kansas, and the agency they used um, let the adoptive parents provide any monetary support they wanted to. Um, so, you know, they did support her. And um, after the adoption, I think they even uh, bought her a used car when her car broke. But anyway, it was a very calm, good experience.
yeah.
They had have an open adoption with her, where when they were when the child was real little, they would get together for a play date every now and then, or maybe go to um, bio siblings birthday party. And then everybody got busier as they got a little older, but they were connected on Facebook. So been able to, she's one of those lucky kids that's been able to have that relationship
Yeah.
with her birth. So you are right. The point is, you're right. Not all birth moms suck.
Like, I mean,
No,
like,
I love that you said that. That sucks.
I do,
because
they
it's
suck.
true.
Because I mean, like, it's just yeah, they've sucked. Especially, like, I'm sorry, the fact that they told her that he's a one night stand. I don't know who he was. Sucks.
Well, it's just sad because she had a full on relationship with him.
She did full on relationship, and then please keep going with the rest of
So from May until October, we were under the impression that it was a one night stand. There was, obviously the agency was going to do their due diligence, which in Texas is the paternity registry. Okay. But, we certainly didn't have any concerns about anybody popping up on that because it was a one night stand. And she didn't even know the guy's last name.
Of course.
So that's all the due diligence is the paternity registry.
I believe that's all it is now in Texas. I know when I was working, but this was like 20 years ago, when I was working in foster care adoption, they had to like advertise in the newspaper. So, I mean, even that is not that great. If the guy doesn't really know, I don't know that there's any perfect method to.
Yeah, and there may not be.
So that's my question. So they technically, like, because I'm not from around there, like they just don't even have to give their rights away. They use this as them giving their rights away.
That was my whole thing. If it's that their due diligence was just the paternity registry, and if he doesn't pop up on the paternity registry, we're done. Like that's what I
like. How's the dad supposed to know? Wow.
I got so yes, they have. I believe it's 30 days after the baby is born to register on the paternity registry.
I remember Donald
if they know
that.
That's if
they know.
So right. If they don't know, then it doesn't matter. And the agency's like, well, screw it. We don't need them. Boom, gone.
Because they're not on the paternity registry and that 30 days is gone. So there we go.
So they just put one into the registry just like as here's a sprinkle in the air, even though we know nothing's going to pick it up. Is that pretty much
to say that they did it?
Then they write it off?
That is my understanding.
Wow. I'll have to look into that.
Texas,
that's crazy.
I'm looking at you. Like,
I don't know how other states do it, but I do know that almost all the states have a paternity registry. So I don't know if that's all they're obligated to do or if some states do more than that.
That's crazy.
So yeah, I mean, it's hard if you're a birth father, if you don't have any clue that you might have a child out there and the birth mom doesn't tell you, then I don't know how you're supposed to know. But needless to say, it came as a huge shock that there was a potential birth father.
Yeah.
So then it, and it's like everything, of course, for everybody, all sides involved, it just took such an enormously long time for it all to get worked out. Obviously, first they had to do a DNA test, and the results the first time got lost. So then it had to be done again. So that took twice as long as it should have. Then it was, the agency that we used. Well, the social worker that was with us at that time definitely had never had a father show up on the paternity registry before. So she was like,
never?
Not in her experience. And I'm not sure how long she had been.
I was going to say, how long has she been doing it, or how many had she done? Holy cow.
We found out way after all this that the agency itself, when we met with the director, had it happen one other time. And then our social worker told us when she talked to workers from other agencies that they've had it happen. So it definitely happens.
Yeah.
And, and that's a good thing for birth fathers that are good to take care of a child. So anyway, it was at that point when that popped up that it kind of felt like we were kind of on our own. Like the agency was trying to figure out what they were going to do. I mean, obviously they had to contact Donald. But, here we've already had this baby in our home for almost 3 months at that point. So we ended up getting our own lawyer, even though the agency's lawyer, could basically take care of our side of things too. It just felt like we weren't getting any information. And it was like, no, let's just get our own advice here. And that was really good. I was glad we did that because we got a kick-ass lady that has been working in adoption for years. And, she kept it real with us. And that's for sure what I wanted. Don't sugarcoat anything. Let's keep it real. What can we expect here? What can we prepare for? So she told us the child hasn't been in your home long enough at this point for you to have any, real legal rights. And we were like, okay, I understand that. But, I've worked in foster care and we have friends who have adopted, and, we want to at least make sure that the birth father is stable and not on drugs and stuff like that. So she talked about that a lot of times they'll do mediation, or we could even maybe request to just sit down and talk with them ourselves. She had cases previously where that went very well for both sides, where adoptive parents and birth dad sit down together and birth dad says, you know what, the child's in a really good home. I feel good about this. I'm not going to disrupt anything. I'm just going to relinquish, and this is great. And also vice versa. I really want a parent. I appreciate you taking care of the child, and but I want to raise my child. And so I was ready to go at that point. I was like, okay, well then let's do this. I'd like to meet him, because again, when everybody goes into crisis mode and, the agency gets us and birth mom together for meeting, and, then they really started grilling her, well, who is this guy? Why is he on the registry? We haven't heard anything about him. And I'm sitting there thinking, I know you can't force people to tell you stuff, but like, what did they ask her to begin with? Like,
that's what I'm trying to figure out. If you're asking her that now,
right?
What did you ask before? Like, here's like, I can't.
And our lawyer was hilarious. She was like, they should have asked her if it was a one night stand. Was it in the car? Was it in the back seat? Who was on top? Blah blah.
I like your lawyer.
That's awesome.
Right? Like, they really should have asked a lot of questions to try to get a feeling for if that's true. Because what are most people probably going to say? They probably just want to keep it simple. Don't want a bunch of nosiness into their life. So anyway, it was at that meeting she started talking about, well, Donald this and Donald that. And
like what?
Again, like I said,
like I was about to say, remember?
Like what? Because like I'm really curious what she said. Like,
this is another reason that I just took it at face value, was because to me it was really weak examples of why he was supposedly a concern. One of them was that they all went on a trip together and he yelled at the kids. Okay, how many parents yell at their kids? I mean, give me a break.
My
I'm not even a
husband's out of
parent,
town.
and I yell at my. I was gonna say I'm not even a parent, and I yell at my nieces and nephews or kids. Like,
I mean, kids can make you
Wow.
bonkers. You're
Yes.
gonna yell.
Yes.
So, I blew that one off right away. And then her other example that I recall was that he was controlling about how she spent her money, which at first I thought, okay, well, no, that's not cool.
Yeah.
But she goes on to say he was helping support me and the baby. Well, okay, yeah, if I put myself in birth father's shoes and I am giving somebody money to help with their pregnancy,
Seriously.
then I'm not going to want them to blow it on stupid, unnecessary stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
so, but it wasn't really. I mean, like, I hate to put it like this. Like, I really hate to say it like this, but is what it is. It wasn't really her money. It was his money supporting her and the baby, and he was trying to guide her in the right direction. I'm assuming is what's happening here.
That was
Right.
the impression that I got.
Okay, yes, you could.
Yeah, because he told us that. Do you not remember? He told us that. He said he was paying for
He-
doctor visits and he was doing
paying,
this and he was doing
paying for
that to help her.
everything. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
and Donald's that kind of a stand-up guy, but like that's what threw me was that he's telling me how to spend my money. Like, I mean, quoting her, I guess, whatever, kind of whatever, telling me how to spend my money, but it's not your money.
Exactly.
Like, I hate to put it like that. Like, I hate to put it like that, but if I'm gonna
Oh, it's
say
true.
how to spend my money, it's from my paycheck with my name on it.
Yeah.
It was
That's part of the reason it was so easy to just sit there and think, okay, something just doesn't sound right here. And there has to be more to this. And so again, after that, I told our lawyer, I said, when can we do a mediation? That, to me, that sounds like the most sensible place to start.
Yeah.
And she said we'd have to wait for the court to order it, which just makes me roll my eyes even to this day. Like, we've already waited on a lost paternity test and having to redo it. And now we're waiting to get to a court date just so that we can sit down together. That's so stupid.
I always thought you could like opt to do mediation over going to court. The court actually has to tell you to do it. I didn't know that.
That's what we were told. I can't say that that's accurate. All I can say is that's what we were told.
That's fair.
So we ended up at court, and in retrospect, it's so, I feel so terrible for Donald because, here he comes from out of town to court, wants to see the baby, and of course we're advised, I wouldn't do that. Let's just wait for the next step. So I was trying to think. Now it's been so long, I can't remember if he went back home and came back for mediation, or if they got it scheduled fast enough for him to stay in town. I think it might have been the latter. But that turned out to be, that's what we all needed, was just to get to that day, because it took all day, but we got there. And of course they shared all the evidence that he presented about how he had supported birth mom. And, you can't argue with that. He has a stable job. He supported her during the pregnancy. He wants to raise his child. And then we finally got to sit down with him, and you could just tell how much he cared. And I think, of course, my husband always makes me talk first. I think I got about 2 sentences into who we were, and then I started crying. And I could see on Donald's face, he was trying so hard not to cry.
Oh.
And that just broke my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would expect that. That's
he felt you could tell he felt so bad, but it's his biological child and he wants to raise him.
Right.
So we had a good talk, and, we told ourselves about each other. And that's when we went back to our lawyer and said, let's not drag this out. He's waited long enough already. The only question was, should there be some kind of transition period? Because again, I was used to more the foster care side of it.
Yeah.
And so if the foster parents aren't adopting, usually the kids would go for, a play date also with all the adults, and then, maybe a weekend visit, and they kind of ease into the transition. But that's older kids, and our lawyer had so much experience. She was like, okay, well, look for this age, this, and this age, that. And, Luke is only a few months old, and it's not going to be detrimental to just go ahead and send him. So we had that last night to, spend with them and kind of say our goodbyes. And then we took him the next morning.
See, okay, I'm gonna chime in. I think it's bullshit.
Glad you are, because I'm about to start crying, so I'm glad you.
At any age, I feel like, I'm sorry, I don't give a shit if it's a teenager or if it's an infant. That baby knows who you are. Like, that baby knows who you are with how little they are. I think they should have done some type of transition with you. I'm sorry. I know your lawyer had done a ton, and you, like you said, she was a kick-ass lawyer, but anyway, sorry. That's just how I feel. I still feel like there's transition. It doesn't matter what age it is. I feel like they think it's a baby. They're not gonna remember anything. They're not gonna know anything. It's like bullshit. Like, they are. Unfortunately, fortunately, they are, because babies bond with people.
They do. Well, and it's not just like, I don't know. I just feel like there's not, like, the transition period isn't just for the child. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
that's what's getting me right now. It's like, I couldn't imagine that. Like, that's like some kind of just little time period to help everybody to train.
I would have insisted on that if we had lived in the same state.
Okay, yeah.
City. Right. But with him in Alabama and us in Texas, I mean,
Sarah,
that
you're incredible.
Super feasible. Well, I appreciate it. It's just, what it comes down to is, like y'all talked about with Donald, there's multiple people that love this kid. And if you're doing it for the right reasons, sorry, I'm going to choke up a little bit, but
no, you're fine. You're fine.
You care. You have to think about the child. So,
and I think that's the biggest thing that we try to impose on our podcast, because we, as being adoptees ourselves, like, you have to put your kid first. Like, even me being a parent now, granted they're my biological children, like, we need more people like you and like the people we've interviewed before to realize that the kids need to be put first. It's not, and that's where I think our hearts go out to you so much, that we wanted that transition time for you too, because of the type of human that you are. Like, seriously, like, people need more people like you and other people we've interviewed that say you have to put the kids first, because that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? And for you guys to do that just shows how, is it selfless? I don't want to say it wrong. Selfless, right?
No, it's selfless. It's 100%
selfless. They are. Yeah.
Well, I think we all need a tissue.
Well, it's just, because yours, I mean,
it's just, to be completely honest, Sarah, there were so many times that Milena and I get essentially attacked a lot on social media from people who say, it's not they don't consider like the necessity for the child and the child's feelings and looking out for the child, but that the other people have feelings too. They don't understand that it's everybody's feelings, but that no matter what, at the end of the day, everybody's feelings and goals should be for the child to have a wonderful, beautiful life and to gain anything they want to give. So to hear you say that you wanted the best for Luke, even though you knew it would be, there'd be no transition period for you or for him, that you just absolutely did it. That's the most selfless thing I've ever heard. And I, especially after everything you've gone through, that I don't know, I can't even like really process. I'm like, so like, I'm trying so hard not to start crying all over again, because the more I think about it, I mean, Sarah, it's just amazing to me. It's just
to me,
amazing
it's
to
just
me.
like she got her heart ripped out and she still wanted to
Yeah,
do what
and
was
she
what was
still
best for
wanted
the
the
kid.
best. She
Like
still wanted the best for Luke. She still
did.
wanted the best for him, even after she was lied to multiple times, forced to go through a process that she should not have been forced to go through. And like you said, had her heart ripped out, and yet she still looked at it as, this is what's best for him. I have to.
Yeah,
That's a mom.
it's
That's
amazing.
a mom.
It's amazing.
It's just partly it's my personality. I always try to put myself in the other person's shoes, and the only thing that kept me from like really losing my mind over this was I kept thinking about what Donald had gone through. I know what we'd been through, but then I stopped and thought, okay, first of all, he had no idea that she contacted the adoption agency. He was told that his child died. Then when he figured out what was going on, he had absolutely no idea who was taking care of his child.
Right.
Birth mom met us. He hadn't.
Yeah.
I mean, how unsettling. I mean, even if you know that we've been checked out by an agency and all of that, what a yucky feeling. And then just, all of the waiting, how long it took for him to finally get him, so that, and then everybody obviously reacts differently. I had family members who really struggled with how hard it was to let him go. And I said, this is what's getting me through it. Try to think of it like that. And that didn't help them, but I tried, it's hard. So another thing that really helped was Donald keeping in touch, which he did not have to do. I mean, he could have been like, nice to meet you, thank you very much, and gone on his way. But we had connected through social media the night before we took Luke to turn him over. And, he just gently kind of reached out a couple times. And he was like, he told me later, if you hadn't answered, fine. If you did and you felt like that was good, then we'll keep communicating.
Yeah.
And our lawyer had warned us, this situation could feel like losing a child, like if a child died.
Yeah.
So I was kind of bracing myself for that. But again, it's just the way my mind works. I was like, it was just easier for me because he's not dead. He's alive and he's with a caring, loving, stable birth father.
Yeah.
That just made it easier for me. I know from working in foster care how important it is to kids to have that connection to their birth family if they can. And that's amazing that he does. Yeah. Not every child gets that.
I love that.
And I was pretty shocked actually when we met with the agency after all of this. I said that to them. And one of the people in the room was like, you're really happy for him? I was like, yeah, I'm happy for both of them. Why wouldn't I be? Wow. That really
sucks.
surprised me
I'm
coming
sorry.
from
I'm
a
sorry.
social worker.
Yeah, especially because you're one. So you like know, like, wow.
I'm sorry. They suck. They suck so bad.
We debated whether or not to stick with that agency. And I know Donald mentioned it in his podcast. You know, it's kind of a rock and a hard place because you put the money into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And
I just found that very, the audacity to say that is what kind of, I don't know. I just feel like that's a little out of line to say you're happy for them.
I mean, okay, if you're surprised, think it, but
right.
Don't, but like, that's what I mean. Like, you think it all day long. It out loud. Think it, but you verbalized it. You threw it out there.
Exactly.
Like, just like the audacity to put the words in a sentence and actually let it out. Like, I'm sorry, keep going.
So everything, you know, I got back to the point, like each time something didn't work out, I just had to remind myself, eventually it will.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's what our friends had basically tried to warn us about in the beginning. It's going to be an emotional roller coaster. Stuff's going to fall through, but eventually something's going to work out.
Right.
So our little guy that we adopted was born in October of 20. And this was a completely different experience, in that it was a hospital placement. With Luke, you know, we met birth mom months ahead of time. We were preparing the nursery. It was, you know, that was, even though we weren't pregnant, it was that preparation period. And with our son, it was, he was born. Are you interested? If so, come on down and get him.
Wow.
Which I think if that had happened the first time, it would have been pretty overwhelming. But because we had been able to take care of little Luke, for it ended up being, I think, a total of 4 months. You know, we'd gotten our feet wet and we already had everything set up, and it was like, oh, we can do this. Yeah, no problem.
That's crazy. That's so cool though. That's like, I mean, it's really like, even though all the hardship and stuff, it's really cool how that like kind of,
it kind of almost like worked out in a way. And it was like a surprise. Answer the phone. Hello. Hey, guess what? Surprise.
Well,
like, what a cool way.
Well, yeah, and you know, we of course agreed to be to do that type. We knew we could get a call anytime. And it's pretty funny though, because my husband was having a colonoscopy that day. So we are literally, I wake up to this voicemail about this baby, and we're literally driving across town for his procedure. And I'm like, they need us to call back this morning ASAP. So we're like, does this sound good? Yeah. Okay, let's find out more.
That's so crazy.
So I'm getting like the details while he's in having the colonoscopy, because, you know, you can go ahead and get basic redacted information where you don't have birth mom's full name, but you get like a little history on, you know, genetic diseases in the family and things like that. So he gets out of his procedure and I give him the 411, and it was an exciting day.
Yeah, for sure. That's so
we
crazy.
took care of that. We voted, we grabbed some lunch, and we were just waiting for the call to say it's time to come on to the hospital. And
Oh.
we did meet that birth mom as well. Completely different experience than Luke's birth mom, who, like I said, seemed very together.
Yeah.
Our son's birth mom, not together at all. We didn't feel like an openness in this situation would be healthy, but they do have a cool, trying to remember the name of it, blanking on the name of it, but basically a website where you can upload pictures and then birth mom can log in and see them. So that way it's not like a total loss for her.
Yeah.
Just like with us, if Donald hadn't sent us pictures, it would have been a total loss. So I was like, we were more than happy to do that because it helped us so much.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's crazy. That's so crazy.
So
it's just insane.
Then we just had to wait that 6 months that felt like forever. But now it's been a year since then. So
yay. That's so good. That's so. And so with can I ask, with that, did they do the same thing, petition for the birth father on the one that you now have your son? Same thing.
They had to check the registry.
Gotcha.
Nobody was on there. This birth mom had a wild story that I am taking with a grain of salt, because you just never know.
It's
so crazy.
But it sounds, I mean, obviously this birth mother told the truth, I'm assuming.
We'll never know.
Well, yeah, that's true.
She said she moved here from out of state about a year before our son was born, and she was trying to stay clean, but then she went to a party and they happened to have, it was meth. They happened to have meth, so I thought I'd try it because it was my birthday. Oh, okay. Well, that's what I do at parties. They happen to have meth, so
I mean, absolutely.
It's my birthday.
You know what? That's actually my goal for my next birthday, is that somebody gives me meth. Because that's what I mean, I guess time out. I shouldn't make light of that, because addicts are addicts, and I understand that. However,
I know
but it's still a little, it's still a little like, what do you want for your birthday? Crack.
Right. I mean, it just shows you how not stable she was.
Yeah,
right.
like not
exactly.
ready. Absolutely,
no, it's so true.
Not ready to be a mom, because for my birthday, I wanted tacos. Call me crazy.
Right.
For birthday, I want to be left alone.
Yeah, right. Everybody just go do something else.
So true.
That's just I do hope she has gotten it together since then, because that's a key indicator of not having it.
God bless her.
That's, bless her heart. Just such a Southern thing for me to say.
It is very Southern.
And I say, Sarah, I am in the South, so luckily tonight has not popped out my accent, but very much.
My accent
locked down.
But everybody here loves it. All my friends are like, we love Nancy's accent every time you guys do a podcast. So I love it, because you bring on people that have that good Southern drawl, and then I'm like the people that are like, oh hey, we speak super English.
We speak non-Southern.
I love it.
That's just
anything else to add on to your story, Sarah?
Well, I mean, I can tell you more of her crazy story if you want to hear it.
Your
Oh, I was about to say which one, because I feel like
your birth mama, like the one of your son now?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's just,
I want to know.
like I say, you just got to take it with a grain of salt, because she's had 2 kids before, but she supposedly didn't know she was pregnant this time. And
I've
right,
never understood that. I've never
Okay,
understood
so-
that. Being pregnant myself, I've never understood how people don't know.
They have a whole television show about it,
I know, and that's
because
what I
that's
thought,
reliable.
right.
TV,
That's
you believe everything on the TV, duh.
Absolutely, especially reality TV. Who doesn't? It's not staged at all. Okay, so she said she didn't know she was pregnant
Yeah,
after having 2
And-
kids.
That's crazy.
after having 2 kids, and skinny as a rail. Oh my goodness, tiny little thing. I mean, I don't know
So
how
how-
she could have not known,
How?
but
Yeah, how when you're that like where it
She-
shows.
she said she
like-
has Crohn's disease, and that the cramping and bloating with that, she just thought it was that. So
okay, I could see that for the first little bit, but once your stomach keeps like a growing, like how big until she knew she was pregnant? Do you know?
up until the day she delivered, she went in the bathroom because she thought she was having a Crohn's episode, and pulled down her shorts, and there was a head hanging out. Is what she told us.
What?
Oh my Lanta.
What?
My hell. Oh my hell. Oh my hell. Oh my hell.
I mean, this is what I say. I
How-
just, you know,
Take
It
it with a
was
grain
a
of salt. I
very-
get you.
interesting meeting, and I wish her the best. I hope that she gets clean, and I hope she can get a stable job. You know, we'll probably never know, because it wasn't a situation where we felt like it was good to keep in contact.
That makes sense. Yeah.
That
makes
does make sense. That
And
makes
I
sense.
think you can see why.
Yes.
Yes, very much.
Wow.
That is so.
And, you know, then the next thought is, how do we delicately handle this when Dalton's old enough? He's going to have questions. And supposedly he's the result of a rape. That was what she said. Again, who knows if it's accurate?
right.
So hopefully we have a while before he starts asking the hard questions like that, but
yeah.
it's definitely something I'm already thinking about.
Yeah, for sure. Do you guys even like now, like let him know that he's adopted? I mean, I know he's
I was
little.
just about
I know
to
he's
ask. I
teeny
was about to
tiny,
ask
but
that.
like, is that
And
something you
just-
guys
yeah.
will continue to introduce?
That's the plan. Right now he's 18 months, so he's
Yeah.
too little to
small.
understand anything, of
Yeah.
course.
Yes.
But
small.
I do already have a few books, like storybooks about
Oh, I love
adoption.
it. Oh, I love it.
And this was really inspired by our friends in Kansas who adopted, because I knew that I didn't want to keep it a secret and be like, "You're 18, sit down, let me tell you something." That's just
Yeah.
no. I just don't think that's right.
Yeah.
It's
Thank you.
that's
Thank
the-
you.
that's
I'm
the
glad you don't.
worst.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank you.
glad you. We're glad you agree, because we say the
Yes.
same thing all the time. Because that not okay, not all right.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, to approach it like that would be just messing with somebody's head.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So, we have the storybooks, which will help
I love that.
open a conversation. And, I'm at some point we'll let him know that we're reading them because he's adopted. And then our friends in Kansas have a cool thing where she's real into scrapbooking. So she created like little books for each of her girls. And it talks about their experience coming, waiting for them and then finally getting them. And it has pictures of the birth mom.
I love it.
Our friend says, periodically throughout her girls' lives, they'll just pull those out every once in a while and look at them. And for the younger one who doesn't really have the best situation to necessarily have contact, she at least has that to feel connected.
Right. Oh, I love that. I do. I love that so much. Cause like you said, it may not be the best contact, but at least she still has that information
There's
to
something.
have. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Because whether or not some people grow up and they want to track down their birth parents. And, we have another friend who is adopted, and he's never felt the need to track down his birth family. He's like, this is my family and I'm cool. But to know and have the choice,
Mhm.
to me, is the important thing.
I agree with that because I was very similar to him, that I never wanted to look. I was fine. I knew who my mom and dad were, I knew who my parents, like my sisters are, I knew who my mom and dad are, I know who my grandparents are. I know my family. So I felt that same way. I don't need this. And it wasn't until about 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago was when I was in a way said, fine, okay, I'll go do it. Like because my parents were the ones that wanted me to, because they're like, we understand where you're coming from. However, we think this might be a little important. And I mean, they eventually were right. I hate to say that out loud because, I'm their stubborn daughter, but they were right. And but they made it, like you said, they made it my choice. It was my option. It was my choice to choose to do that, to go get that information. But that was the only way I could have found it. So the fact that y'all have those books to give to them, because Melena and I both had closed adoptions.
Yeah.
We had closed. I mean, I had a step. I mean, I won't lie. I had to step up on Melena. There's no other way to put that. But like, I at least had the names on the paperwork. Like, I had the. Stop making that face at me. I had names on paperwork to where I at least had a jumping off point to look and to go get that information. Wow.
Girl, I had my birth mom's name. I just don't know who my birth dad is. Does that make sense? I have my birth mom's name.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, was that that was on your paperwork, wasn't it?
Yeah, as on my paperwork that my parents kept. And then
Okay.
so I did have her name, but you do have a step up on me to where
Mine
your
was-
parents still held that relationship. I will probably never, hopefully one day, find out who my birth dad is. So yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, and then also I think it was a little easier because mine was domestic too. Maybe that's why it was easier, is because mine was domestic. Was that why it was?
That's one thing I'm not gonna lie that I'm always super jealous of. Like, even that you can go see them and stuff. That's something. I mean, I just need to.
Are you kidding?
Suck it up and be able to go visit. I know, but like
gas prices.
Colombia versus California. Let's be real, Delancey. Let's be real. California is much more reachable than Colombia.
Gas prices.
Suck it.
I'm just saying that I don't know why I forgot that you're a birth mom thing, but no, you are right.
No,
like maybe
fine.
that's what it was, that it was my bio dad, because I knew I had a name that you didn't have, and it was my bio dad. But the fact that we didn't have the information readily handed to us, I guess, is the better thing, which makes me so.
But you're right. We do have very much of a one up on a lot of adoptees who don't even have that information. Like,
100%.
So I love that.
For sure.
That your friends in Kansas have done that and kept that for their kids, because my parents, I don't know if it's right here. See, my parents, this is what my dad, I'll show you, put together for me. This whole book, this is just filled with, I won't share it because it's got like socials and stuff, but like all adoption, every single bit of paperwork that they did, it's all in there.
Wow.
Yeah, mine fit in an envelope. mine wasn't very
it's because I'm international, so they needed more paperwork.
That's true. But like, we always talk about, we always stress how important it is for the parents to be we feel that it's important for the parents to be open, like what you're saying, that for them 100%. To be willing to share the information and be open with it. So I really love hearing the different creative ways that the parents are sharing the information, whether it's a scrapbook, or like having the information really available, or having a creative way to explain it to them in age appropriate to where they'll understand as they grow up. Because again, people who are listening and the ones in the back, do not wait until they're 18. Just tell them.
Like, we had
the right thing to do.
Another adoptee last episode that we did, that his mom used it as a bedtime story. So he grew up like knowing his adoption story is like a bedtime story. Like it was really, really
Aw,
cute.
that's
How
really
they,
sweet.
yeah, how his mom did it. We were like, oh, that's a great idea. Cause then it's
Big
just like,
it's just every night, and that's just so cute. And like, but you could tell
Yeah.
with the way that he was explaining it, that when he said, "Oh, it was a bet," like just the way he said it, it was such a joyful way that he shared it. It was such a jovial way that you could
Yeah.
tell. Again, and Milena has said it, that if you go into it with confidence and compassion and empathy and happiness and joy, it's going to be received in a positive way, especially if you start
Yes.
young. If you go in with, like you said, Sarah, you're 18, sit down, let me tell you the secret. Like, you're gonna have
surprise.
some surprise. You're gonna have some choice words probably thrown in your direction. People aren't gonna be
Right.
thrilled. And I don't know. I really like,
I think that would
this
feel
whole
like
thing.
such a betrayal. Like, you
Yes.
lied to me for all these years. I mean,
Right.
how somebody just
Yeah.
put yourself in their shoes.
Mhm.
Is that how you would want to find out? Heck
Well,
no.
it's like, would you ever want to find out a secret that, like, I mean, it shouldn't be a secret, but like, quote, like essentially a secret.
Well, that's how it would feel to them. You've
Yeah,
kept this a
of
secret.
anything. Yeah, of anything, no matter what the secret is. Would you ever want to find out a secret about your family that everybody knew but you? You were the only one left out. That would be, I mean, I know me, I know my reaction. I would probably blow up, to be honest, at the age of 18, knowing who I was at the age of 18 and how emotional I was. I mean, still am emotional, but better control, not so much control back then. I probably would have blown up in the worst way possible, because that is, it's something special you share with your parents, because like, you chose your son.
Right.
And it's essentially, you chose your son. You made the decision to go, yes, let me have him. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you want them to know that all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know, that's that kind of stuff. Again, off track. But
Not
here we
really.
are.
I mean,
Like, not
there's-
really, like kind of, we go on tangent. I don't know if you caught this, Sarah, but if you've listened to any of our episodes, we kind of like grab something and we go on a tangent like this way, and then we rein ourselves back in, kind of.
But it
somewhat.
always usually comes back. I mean, you
does.
freaking did the Avengers. We linked the Avengers and adoption, remember? Like,
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. That was amazing. If you don't know what we're talking about, it's on the last episode. Go back and check it out. It's
with Greg.
amazing.
Yep. Mhm.
With
It's
Greg.
so funny.
Because I shocked both of you that I did that.
I missed it. I'm gonna have to go back.
Oh, it's not out yet.
It's not out yet. It's gonna drop soon. It'll drop soon.
Yes.
I
Not
think
this
that's
week, but
probably-
next week. Yeah.
Is it next? See, I can't even. I'm so glad Melina does that stuff, because I can't even keep up. I know when we're interviewing, and I know what topics we're discussing when we're discussing them. I keep track of that calendar. I do not. She keeps track of the when it airs calendar. So my small contribution.
No, it's awesome. It's gonna be dope. Sarah, do you have any other words you want to share? Any advice for maybe potential adoptive parents? Anything like that you can give? You've already given us seriously so much, but any other
Mhm.
lasting closing with words of wisdom that you'd want to share?
A couple things. I would say, even though it's likely to be the emotional roller coaster, don't give up. You'll get there eventually. Sometimes it just takes a while. And then, probably just because of my foster care experience, something to think about is, if you're interested in adopting older children, a general rule of thumb is to not mess up the birth order in your home. I mean, I'm not going to say that people haven't done it and it's probably worked out just fine, but that was always a recommendation that we made.
Okay.
Okay.
Why is that? I mean, we did interview a foster mama who, when they went into it, that's exactly what she said. She said, we will take anybody this age and below, nobody older than
Mhm.
her daughter.
You've already, I'm trying to think how to phrase it. I mean, if you've already got children and that birth order is established, you know, let's say you get somebody older than the rest, you're wrecking that dynamic basically.
That makes
The
sense.
oldest one is already used to being the
Mhm.
oldest.
That makes sense.
So it's almost like and I hate to put it like this, but I feel like I have no other way to put it, but it's almost like a power struggle in a way. Like
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
I can understand that. I can
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah, that makes total sense. No, I
And
think
that
that's
does make
awesome
sense.
advice.
That's about the kids. Again,
Mhm.
it's like not what works for you. You
Right.
have their kids to consider.
Mhm.
Right. I love that.
Absolutely. I do too. For sure.
Awesome. Okay. Anything else you want to ask Sarah or anything like that?
I feel like I've been on an emotional roller coaster, to be honest with you, with this one.
No, like Sarah, like
This is-
thank you. Thank you seriously for coming on, because it's so fun to hear different sides of the story, because you
Mhm.
know, stories can be told one way and things don't always match up. In this case,
Right.
it sounds like things match up, and it was
It's
very
matches,
interesting
yes.
to get a little insight of what you saw of the, you know, your experience with the birth mom that was involved.
Mhm.
And just, I love that you came on and you shared that, like, honestly, it's been harder than hell for you guys
Mhm.
to grow your family. But like you said at the very end, hold on, don't give up hope, you know,
Right.
because it will happen. It may not be your timeline at all, but you know,
Exactly.
like, just hang on the best you can. And like, yeah, no, and like, seriously, thank you for taking some time out of your night to come sit down and talk with us. And we so appreciate it. And we're just forever grateful that you came on and shared your side of the story, because we are very, very happy that you eventually got a happy through all the hard shit you guys have been through, you and your husband.
Mhm.
Like, it's eventually gotten, you know, there, and doesn't mean that it still doesn't suck and hurt, but like, I'm so glad that there's been baby steps of like
Mhm.
little happiness that have come along the way. Have you guys have grown your family? So yeah.
Well, and how amazing was that for all of us to hear, like you said, hear her side and to see, like, we heard from Donald's point of view, and from Donald's point of view and everything. And even Donald said he felt so bad.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't want to hurt y'all. But
Right.
then we hear your side and it's like, yeah, it hurt for a little bit, but look what we have now. This is amazing. And we are very, Melanie and I are both very faith-based. We're both very strong Christians. And that to me is just, you cannot tell me like, God did not bless that.
Right.
Like, you
Exactly.
can't tell me that God didn't bless it, because there's no way. Like, it just, how it all worked out, even though it did struggle, it did suck. It's, that was in our church service on Sunday, which will not line up to the timeline when this drops, but it's that, what is, like, where is your hope? And they talked about hope, and that no matter how hard things are, you have to look towards hope. You have to have hope. And this is just the perfect embodiment of all of that. So thank you. Like Melina said, thank you so much. Your story is going to help so many people.
Yeah.
Like,
Hope so.
and I'm just, thank you for, like,
No,
I'm so thankful you're sharing it. Yeah.
It really will, because I
It really
had
will.
a handful of adoptive parents that follow me on social media after they heard Donald's, and they're like, this is my biggest fear. And so then when we were able to have you come on, I was like, but you
Mhm.
guys, you've got to see,
It's like, give it time. Yeah.
there's so much shit. But like, at the other hand, like, it's not just with adoption. God puts shit in the way so you can figure it out. Yes, everybody that
Right.
listens laughs at me because I always talk about God and I swear, Jesus and I swear. But seriously, God will put shit in your way until you can get where he knows you need to be, where he knows. And so it's like,
Exactly.
you're just a person who has learned that it's not going to get me down. And I think the biggest thing is we can see how big your heart is. Cause like,
Mhm.
oh man, when you're talking about how you lost it and then Donald was trying not to lose it, that's where I'm just like, oh my gosh. Cause it shows
I was about to
not
say,
only
we were losing it while she was telling us that.
the person you are, but the person he is too. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And that's what I thoroughly enjoyed about his story. Like, just leaps and
Mhm.
bounds, that he wanted you guys to be okay. He
Mhm.
was so grateful for everything you had done for his son. And that's what really stood out about, him to me. So yeah.
Well, and the fact that they stay connected,
Yeah.
they stay connected now.
I
That
love
just
that.
shows what amazing people both of them are.
Right.
And like you said, there's a lot of times stories don't line up, but the fact that we're
Correct.
able to give the two different perspectives and they both line up,
Yeah.
it's incredible. I love it. I love all of it. Like this has been so much fun, such a great experience tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, every night, of course, but
this one's been extra dope.
Really
That's
fun.
what you're saying.
It's just been
Extra dope.
extra cool, extra dope, extra amazing. It's just been, because it's like we've never in all of our episodes, all of them, we've never had a follow-up where it's like not just like a follow-up.
All of
like,
our 12. This will probably be number 15.
All of our 12 episodes, all of our 12. We've never had this. We haven't. I don't even think that we even, when we first started talking about doing the podcast and we started talking about like what we wanted to do, I don't even think we ever thought about this.
Yeah.
I don't even think we ever thought we would have this opportunity.
Right.
To do two different perspectives of the same story. So this is
so cool.
So amazing. It's so cool. So
yeah.
Well, he's actually going to be here this weekend. So
he is.
He is.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that so much.
We're just trying to figure out what to do, because the zoo sounded fun before we found out it was going to be 100 degrees outside.
Oh my hell. Ugh.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
That is hot. That is
absolutely
hot.
not.
Absolutely not. I'd be sitting my ass in a pool.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Agreed. Agreed.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming on.
you.
And we so appreciate it. And like I said before, thank you for taking some time out of your night to sit down and share your story with us, because we so appreciate it. And just thank you for being the awesome, beautiful human that you are, and keep it up, man, because we need more people like you in the world. Seriously.
We really do. We seriously do. More people, more kind-hearted people.
Well, keep your podcast going, because it sounds like that it does good.
Yes. But we hope so. We hope so.
Thank you. That's our goal.
It at least gets people thinking, because it's everybody has strong opinions and they need to hear various perspectives.
I love it.
Exactly. I agree with that. I agree with that completely.
Okay. Well, thanks again. And we will close this out. And thanks, guys, for listening.